If everyone could take their seats, please. The chair would like to call to order tonight's regular meeting of CUSD 201 Board of Education, April 9th, 2019. And roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong.
Here.
Mrs. Charlton.
Here.
Mrs. Coyle.
Here.
Mr. Price. Mr. Rudy.
Here.
Mr. Sturmeyer.
Here.
Ms. Wilson.
Here.
Thank you.
If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. On the March 19th minutes, I have a question on page 3, and I'm just thinking specifically, this was about, on the bottom of page 2, it references the 2019-2020 budget input. And basically, Laura, I was thinking about you in terms of, on the top, it said, on top of page 3, it says board members requested. And were those were things that you had requested, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it does say that, that I had asked for updates about the pool, and Gary suggested about Westmont High School band uniforms. So I think we should have the record reflect that, right? Does anybody?
Yeah.
You mean to add Mrs. Coyle's comments? Is that what you're saying?
It says
The
board
same.
members stated their individual suggestions regarding that, their suggestions included. So we should tweak it to say
Just make it specific that it
Yes.
was, yeah.
that board member Laura Coyle
Yeah.
has that. Is that okay?
Sounds
Okay.
good to me.
So, we had spent a long time since we've done this. Should we just hold this off then for the next meeting, or
Or it can be
as
approved
amended?
as amended.
Okay, so everyone's okay with that?
Yes.
Does anyone else have anything else on the minutes? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 19, 2019 regular meeting of the Board of Education as amended.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the March 19, 2019 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Public comments. Are there any public comments before we get to? All right. Then we have the Model PLC school presentation.
I'm Jean Bernstein from Solution Tree. It is my honor, thank you for allowing me to do this presentation. It's my honor to present this award to Jack Balderman and the staff of Westmont High School. I don't know who else is here. Solution Tree, it's our vision to transform education worldwide and to ensure learning for all. Jack Balderman and his team are accomplishing that every day for your kids, which is why they've achieved this designation as a model PLC school. For those of you that are unfamiliar with what that means, let me share with you a few concepts, and also let you know that for the first time I heard about this, and I'm not an educator, I'm a parent who wanted the best for my kids, I thought, that's just common sense. But it takes a lot of hard work. There are 3 big ideas that drive the work of a PLC or a professional learning community: ensuring students learn, a culture of collaboration, a focus on results. When educators do the hard work necessary to implement these principles, their collective ability to help students increase, but the ability to do so rests on the commitment and persistence of the educators. They understand that this is not just one more thing that they have to do, but how they do business, how they operate their school. Although they needed only to submit 3 years of data and work, this is something that they've been doing for a long time. Under Jack Balderman's leadership, They are ensuring successful learning environment for all students who pass through their doors. And Jack is a trusted resource to guide others in the same work. However, this is truly a collective accomplishment, showing true collaboration and commitment of every team member at Westmont High School. What does it mean to be a model PLC school? As a team, they've been able to demonstrate a commitment to the PLC concepts, implement those concepts for at least 3 years, explain the culture, practices, and structures of the school, and submit it for consideration to the PLC Review Committee. They have updated the school information on the site each year to show the data continues to meet the criteria of the PLC at Work process. Successful PLCs are committed to professional learning for continuous improvement. Please note the focus on learning also for the staff. As Rick Dufour, the former superintendent of Stevenson High School and the thought leader behind the work, said, to create a professional learning community, focus on learning rather than teaching, work collaboratively, and hold yourself accountable for results. Solution Tree would like to commend Westmont High School and recognize them with this certificate. We have a certificate here. And this flag for the continued work they are doing to ensure the success of your students. And here it is, Jack. Congratulations.
Can we get the camera turned around this way, and then maybe everyone, all the, Jack and the team can come on up here? Yes. Because, you're good, okay, good, the camera is this way, so, come on, you know what was your first name again? Turn around, face that way, straight. I'm watching to make sure all of you are on camera.
Somebody come to this side. This is not about me. This is about you.
Okay. And do you want to grab the certificate, just so we can make sure everybody that sees it can, all right. And I see someone's taking a picture, so.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. I just want to say very briefly, I appreciate Mr. Joseph being here, our assistant principal. Mr. Wex home with his wonderful wife, Sarah, who's about to have a child any day now. To Megan Vervink, who this wouldn't have happened without her. She really kept nudging me and pushing me and helping me get the paperwork done for this. It's a pretty long application process. You have that in front of you. It's you can go on the website, All Things PLC, and go to the indicator. You'll see that there are literally hundreds of schools in Illinois that have implemented PLC concepts, but there's only 4 high schools that have earned this designation. There are thousands and thousands of schools across the country who are working on PLC concepts, but there's less than 200 schools that have been designated a model school. And it really, Lisa Hoopman's here with us tonight. When Dr. James Serber, currently a college professor, but was the head of service organizations and education in this area, came to visit Lisa's team. He said it was the best example he'd ever seen in 40 years of being a professional leader. And our team and our students have really done incredible work. So it's a beautiful honor. I think it's well-deserved, but it's a whole school community recognition. So thank you for all your support. And we are about continuous improvement, so we want to keep building on the successes that wouldn't be possible without the support from everybody here tonight and for our whole school community. So thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
And I will just say again, thank you to the staff and the administration at the high school for all that you do on a daily basis to continue with this, so thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions? The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Number 1, personnel recommendation. Licensed staff, Christy McGovern, dual language teacher, Westmont Junior High School. Number 2, approval of student tours. 3, appointment of DAOES representative. And 4, approval of additional March 2019 expenditure report.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mr. Sturmeyer,
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, then we will move on to discussion items, and the first item is dual language update.
Sorry. Should have signed in before. That's why I was running across the tracks.
Let's not go there.
All right. All right. Thank you for having us here tonight. We will be presenting on our annual update on our dual language program. And although not everyone's going to be talking tonight, they definitely needed to introduce themselves. I am Mr. Weiler, principal at Miller School, which is the house of the dual language program.
Alma Gonzalez, second grade dual language.
Veronica Sanchez,
Hold on, I'm going to make sure you're all on camera, so move that way. I'm watching. Come on. Go.
Veronica Sanchez, first grade dual language teacher.
Fabiola Alexander, 5th grade dual language teacher.
Lupe Garcia, third grade dual language teacher.
So thank you for having us here tonight. We'll be taking turns going through some updates. So a couple exciting things tonight. There is a agenda item to hire the recommendation for the 6th grade dual language teacher. So Mr. Jonak, who could not be here tonight, but we'll give an update on that process before the end of the school year. He wanted us to share that Westmont Junior High School will begin the dual language program in 2019-20 school year, and the dual language program will have dual language students be in a co-taught social studies classroom with both a bilingual teacher and a English speaking content specialist, as well as a science classroom co-teaching with 2 teachers, and then they would get some additional Spanish support in their STAR class, which you are familiar with based on the junior high schedule. So just a little update, and Miller School is about to finish our 6th year with dual language, which means our first class, our kindergarten class, will be promoting to the junior high. So our current 5th grade class has some exciting things ahead of them. So here is our first dual language class back when they entered kindergarten, almost 6 years ago, with Miss Garcia, who is currently and still the kindergarten dual language teacher. So, and so that is them then, and here's our students now. Our 5th graders, we have 12 students in the building that will be promoting to the dual language program and carrying the program on through the secondary education. And Mrs. Alexander is here tonight. She's gifted with the 12 students that are in her room. A couple updates that we really want to say thank you to the school board and the superintendent Carey and the community for embracing some of the resources that we have been really in need to bring our programs to the next level and bring some consistency amongst both buildings, because the one nice thing about Ready Math, which we've presented on in the past, is that it offers materials in Spanish and English, as well as our language arts resource. They have 2 aligned curriculums teaching similar units throughout the year, and that's Benchmark, Adelante, and Advanced. So we thank you for putting not only the time into hearing us talk about what we need for resources, but also the finances in place to put these programs to work. And the teachers are very happy. I'm going to hand it over to some of the teachers to talk about some of the things we've been doing over the last 12 months.
Hello. So some of the activities that we've had yeah, we do district-wide, is having a multicultural awareness night. It started off at Miller when I first started about 4 years ago, and it has grown, so we've moved it to the junior high, and it continues to grow. So it's really popular among everybody. Everybody's invited. We all take a couple hours in the evening, and we celebrate all our diversity, and we just have a great time together at the junior high. We have the multicultural the Posada, which was organized by Miss Alexander this year. We came together as a whole school just to bring cultural awareness, different celebrations around the world that we do, and we shared that in an assembly at school, and everybody participated, and it was a nice community thing to do at school. And the Day of the Dead is usually a good celebration that we do at Miller. We teach the kids about the celebration of people have passed away, loved ones, animals, things like that, just to build that cultural awareness and tie that in to the curriculum that we're doing. Anything else you want to say on that?
We have a super strong parent group that also took the theme that we had in the school of Posadas, and they organized something over winter break and got many families, and I know there's a couple houses that were visited of people that are in the room, but food was shared, they celebrated, they had a great time, and they're hoping to continue that tradition in the next year.
We have also had the opportunity to work with Olga from the IRC, and she is, this was our second year working with her. She's focused on the bridge and the meta-linguistic connections with our students and with ourselves, helping us take our benchmark Adelante and advanced resource and really make those connections to drive the instruction with the kids so that they can make those connections with the English and Spanish and vice versa. And with building oracy in Spanish and the English language. So utilizing her to help us continue to teach the curriculum. And for the dual language PLCs, we've had time to work in grade bands. So K1 and 2 have worked together, and we've created a document, and this is just a little example of it. We'll take the unit and we'll do backwards design where we'll work with second grade and then go back and see what they're building on each grade level. And third through fifth have also implemented a document, but since they're doing more 50-50, they're doing 50% of their day in English and 50% in Spanish. They're teaching 2 units at once. So K through 2, we're doing 80% in Spanish in kindergarten, 70 in first, and then 60 in second. So we've kind of done the grade bands, and we're articulating across grades. And then we come together as a whole group, and we show each other and help each other out by bouncing ideas off of one another, what works, what doesn't work, and we just fine-tune everything to keep working forward.
And then finally, our BPAC committee is our Bilingual Parent Advisory Council, and they're the group that has really, led by Mr. Coyle. He's our BPAC president, and Michelle Leidy, one of our teachers at the junior high, and Nancy Nanalig, one of our teachers at Miller. They come together, they focus on getting the community involved, planning events, making sure the voice of our EL and dual language parents are heard, and they actually just finished up an evaluation from those that were at the last meeting on a variety of items, but everyone assessed how they feel the programs, the EL programs and the dual language programs are running, and then how they can help provide some more support or some community outreach as parents and teachers and community members work together. But they assessed topics that were relevant to what's going on in the schools. We scored a 4.6 out of 5. Sharing the information about Title III monies and how we spend it, that was a 4.4 out of 5. Participation at the Bilingual Parent Summit, so that's an organization that gets groups of members throughout the state together, having that opportunity, 4.8 out of 5, and then meeting the educational needs of all the students. Parents scored a 4.5 out of 5. So we're really trying to bring the whole community together to keep the program not only moving in the right direction, but get everyone involved in getting us to where we want to go, which is ultimately seeing the dual language program thrive all the way through high school. So thank you very much for hearing us tonight. And I know Mr. Jonak is excited about sharing a little bit more detail about the plan for the junior high, but we would like to thank you for allowing the program to thrive at Miller. We love it. We love being the home of the dual language program in the district, and we are always looking for ways to help and improve and come together as a family as we look for one of the reasons that makes Westmont just another awesome school district that people want to move into the community. So thank you. Any questions? Very good.
Sounds like things are going well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and,
Thank you.
and giving us that presentation.
Awesome.
Can I make one comment quick before they sit down? I just want to, Alma and Veronica this past year, along with Ellie Garcia, completed their masters in dual language. And I think we're very lucky to have all of our teachers in the dual language program, but I just wanted to formally congratulate them. So,
Could you
great
please
job.
go in front of the mic so we can get you on camera? 'Cause right there, you're not- See, I've got this camera right here, so let's,
That's a pretty big
and then-
deal, so.
I know,
it's,
well, I'm gonna, hold on a minute, I wanna wait till the camera turns around on
Okay.
them. There we are, okay, congratulations. Thank you, thank you. Okay, are you doing? Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you very much. The next item is the program and cost justification for adopted ELA and math series.
If the board remembers, part of our last board self-evaluation, one of the things that came out of that is as the board is approving different programs and projects, that periodically to have information shared with the board on how things are going. Because last May of 2018, the board approved Ready Common Core Mathematics as our core instructional materials for grades K through 5. And that was an expenditure of approximately $16,300. And then in June of 2018, the Board of Education approved the adoption of Benchmark Advanced Core Instructional Materials for English Language Arts, K through 5, and that was a cost of $213,378. And so this, because this is our first year, we're not even through the first year of implementation, but to give you an idea of how it's going, I included a report. And so what we can really comment on are what the short-term goals of the adoption was, and that's first, curriculum material and resources aligned to the Common Core. Definitely, all the teachers are responding that yes, these new materials are aligned to the Common Core. It's making their role easier because in the past, teachers were spending a lot of their own time developing materials for the classroom that were aligned to the Common Core. And so now, because they have these materials, they're able to focus more on the instruction, differentiating instruction, reviewing data, and responding to students' needs. And so it really has helped their work in the classroom. Common formative assessments to monitor student progress and drive instruction. Again, that's one of the reasons why the committee that reviewed the materials locked in on these two sources, is because they come with formative assessments. And I know one of the wishes of the board was to have more consistency between classrooms among a grade level, between the two schools, and that's what we've been able to do now, because regardless of which building your child is in or what classroom they may be in, they're receiving the same assessments. So all the students are receiving those same assessments. There are more resources available for differentiation, so that as the formative assessments are allowing the teacher to see individual students where their gaps are in learning, now they can go back to the resources and find additional resources to bring those students back up to speed, to close that gap, or in some cases, if those students need to be challenged more, there are resources available to challenge the students more, so that is happening as well. Because we have the horizontal alignment among a grade level, we're also seeing greater alignment K through 5. So Tim was, during his presentation, they talked about their PLCs working as a K through 2, so that second grade, this is where our students need to be, so first grade knew where the students need to be, and then kindergarten. The same thing is happening K through 5 now with our monolingual students as well. So they're able to, this is where our students need to be in 5th grade, so therefore we can backward design back to kindergarten where students need to be to exit kindergarten. We have a higher level of consistent curriculum, as I mentioned before, than we have ever had in the district. And then also, as a result of the materials, we're seeing a higher level of student engagement. Of course, the long-term goal is always student performance, we want to see greater student achievement. That's going to take a little bit longer, to see that. But we're going to start looking at, we just completed the spring map testing. We're in the process of completing the state assessment. And so we're going to be able to start taking that data and looking at that data and then be able to communicate to the board some of the things that we're seeing that will be pointing in that positive direction. But overall, definitely very happy with the sets of resources the teachers are, and it's really making a positive impact in our schools.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
So you're saying at the end of the school year, there'll be some numbers we can take a look at, the start of the numbers? I understand it's gonna
Right,
take,
right.
more than one sample size, but so sometime in June or something like that, we'll have a.
Yeah, we'll be able to start taking a look at some of the data.
Okay, we'll look forward to that, so.
Sure.
Okay, anything else? All right, then we will move on to the next item for discussion, athletic director position.
Again, one of the things that the board wanted us to take a look at is our athletic program within the district, and if we could possibly do things better than what we currently are. That came out of a year ago, I think it was a year ago, when we were looking at athletic conferences and the challenges that we have within our district. And so we had a committee that was made up of Laura Coyle and John Rudy served on it from the board. We also had several teachers, Jennifer Glee-Wabell, Craig Etheridge, Dan Wolf, were all teachers at the high school and also coaches. Sue Ellen Jacobs is a art teacher at the high school. We had Frank Cyrus originally signed up for the committee, but unfortunately always seemed to have a conflict. But it would have been nice to get his perspective. But we basically met, and it was really nice because at that very first meeting, I think everybody was on the same page of what we're looking for. And we're looking for somebody who can, it's not just about athletics, but it's about our whole co-curricular program, K through 12. So student activities, athletics, fine arts, and as a district, growing those programs and having, kind of what we're trying to do in the academic realm, have a consistent curriculum, K through 12, is having some consistency as how we approach student activities, co-curriculars, and how we grow those. And so the committee, we put together a job description for the board, and I think one comment was we're kind of looking for that unicorn, but we're optimistic that we'll be able to find that person. But again, that chief responsibility of that person is to provide that visionary leadership, direction and supervision for the coordination of co-curriculars K through 12. And so there's job responsibilities there that overlap the athletics, overlaps the co-curriculars. And then we also had talked about the public relations piece as well. Somebody who can help promote the district in a positive light. One of the things that we talked about is possibly, the first goal is to find that person that can meet all of our needs. Secondly is if we maybe lock in on that somebody who we think can drive the co-curricular program, but maybe the public relations, then we look at possibly a different model for the public relations. But the first goal is to find that person who can drive all of it. Is there anything else, John, or that you wanted to add?
No, I mean, I think you summed it up well, Kevin. It is a monster job description, but I think what everyone really agreed on is that we're looking for, a visionary leader who can look at our current programs and then look at our current PR and communications and say, we're here and we want to get to here, and here's all the things we need to put in place in order to make that journey. And then whatever we need underneath that can fill in as time goes on.
I think too, the idea of public relations being folded into this, while it feels like it may be loading up a huge job that we're going to ask someone to do, I think it plays really well into the co-curriculars and athletics, given that those are the things that we're going to want to publish the most frequently. There's the most frequent events to cover and have those comments made to both the media and to our parents and our community. And so it does fold into this nicely. And then, of course, the assistance with public relations throughout the district as well, other items. So it is a monster of a job description, but I think it's doable. And Kevin and the other coaches and teachers that were in the room with Laura and I were fantastic. It was great to sit down in a room and from moment one have everybody looking at where we want to end up and kind of be in that aligned space. So it was really good. So thank you, Kevin, for facilitating that. Sure.
Okay, does anybody have any, I know I have a couple things, but.
Well, I just had 2 basic questions. First of all, it doesn't seem like any parents were actually involved. Were they?
No, we didn't have parents separate from board members, but no, we didn't have any parents.
Okay, and does any other school district have this job title in there?
There's a couple out there that do. And those were some of the job descriptions we're looking at to model ours.
What schools were those?
I know we looked at job descriptions from Lyle and Naperville. They weren't exactly this model. I think the real difference was the PR element, kind of being
There was,
chunked onto it. But
I can't remember the name of the district right now, Gary, but there was a district
I'd
I
just
know
like to
that
take a
I
look at it,
saw
that's all.
that did set it up that way.
That's fine. Okay.
Are you done, Gary? Okay, I have, first of all, thank you to everyone who worked on the committee. I know this is something we definitely talked about last year. And so I like this a lot. There's a lot that I like with this. So obviously, we are talking about an administrative position. And I know, it does look like a monster, job description. Right now, we have one athletic director at the high school, and that's a stipend position. And then at the junior high, we have a stipend position, right? Okay. So to now, to now go into this, I know the board has talked for many years about, public relations and that has been something that has been high on the board's plate for public relations. So from the perspective of the fact that we're moving towards 2 stipend positions to a full-time, right, this will be full-time.
Right.
A full-time position. I don't want to take anything away from the co-curriculars or the athletics, but I would almost rather, my opinion, see the position flipped. To have, because right now, if it was to be posted as this way, it looks like all we're posting for is an administrator to deal with co-curricular and athletics. And then, as you were saying, tack on the public relations piece. So from my perspective, I think it should be flipped. The public relations should go first, and then the co-curricular. Because if we're going to bring in an administrator full-time, I think it should be, and I think some people know, in the past, we had a position that was half athletic director, half dean, and that didn't seem to, we were given that was something the district used to do. And I know it's been trying to be creative in terms of the amount of dollars we have to spend. So I like all of it. It's just, in my opinion, based on what we've been talking about for the last number of years, it should be flipped. So if we're looking at this for the first time now, that's my opinion.
Sorry, Marie, when you say flip, do you mean the title, or do you mean
The
goal of the job?
Both.
Okay.
The job should be, I thought, I mean, now that we see that it's put into one, I think it should be Public Relations Director with all of the things that we have talked about in the past, that the board has talked about, because that job has evolved, that position that the board has wanted has evolved through the course of time. So I think that should take precedence, and so that would be that and co-curricular. Because it's kind of, I mean, I think that's going to be, in my term, this unicorn that we're looking for. I think that will be possibly easier than what we had years ago. Again, don't know, but I just think about the needs of the district and what we've been talking about, so. Any,
My first thought on that is it feels to me as though it's understanding that PR is an incredibly important part of this. The whole point of the position, at least from my perspective, was to create the same type of opportunities for our students and our student body, K through 12, that we've provided academically. So for the co-curriculars and the athletics, so that there's as much of a focus, or at least someone deriving the focus on that, to match our focus on our academics, and so that there's more opportunity for kids to be more deeply involved, students to be more deeply involved in these activities. I think that the benefit of the PR position to our students is not as measurable as this position as it's written would be. However, it would drive, again, attention to those co-curriculars and athletics. So I think it's, like I said, I think it's a chicken and an egg situation. So I think, and it's because we've created this position that is the unicorn position. We kicked around in the committee a few different ideas to augment this position with help within each building, and then also potentially bringing in some outside help to fill in gaps, because I think it's going to be hard to find this person soup to nuts. I think we're going to have gaps, and so I think we need to look and see where those gaps might be as we look at the field of candidates, and then kind of decide better at that point, do we bring in, maybe it's an internship program, maybe it's a community volunteer, maybe it's a stipend position within the building or within all the buildings, whatever it may be, to fill those gaps and assist. Because as we talked about, no person is going to be able to go to every fine arts event, every club meeting, every sporting event. So it's a takes a village type of position. So I think we need to kind of see what we find. And if my view of if we're asking to find an administrator, so we're asking to find someone who has the Illinois General Administrative Certificate, a master's degree in curriculum or administration, those are the kind of driving pieces to the co-curricular director and athletic coordinator. So to me, those are kind of better matched to those first part of this job description. I think the PR piece, we can find ways to fill gaps, or hopefully that person can have the PR and find ways to fill the other side. So I think it's going to be a matter of candidacy when it comes to this position more than anything.
Yeah, and to just build on what John was saying, I think from our perspective, the gaps and expertise in PR would be easier to fill if you had to sort of have someone supporting this person. It would be easier to find that skill set in a support than it would be someone who could really master our academics or our athletics and co-curricular. So that was kind of the rationale, but I 100% hear you. I think, our ideal scenario might be having these be two separate positions, but also being conscious that we have to work within the budget and make sure we also meet all the needs of the students. And I just, this is a little bit of a tweak, but we've talked about the PR piece as really community engagement. And that was really a thread that sort of connected back to the athletics and co-curricular as well, that it goes beyond just promoting what we're doing as a district, but really getting the community more engaged in what we're doing, and that really joined those two together nicely, so.
And, the thing is that, when we were talking about this last year, I thought this was a great idea. I mean, I thought this was fantastic, which is why we went forward to talk about what can we do to get our athletics with the same, working with the students to help them have a better experience with athletics, and as well as, well, you can't say as well as academics, because our academics is why we're here, but to raise that level to what's best for the students. So I know that was what the task of the committee was. My concern is that now what's being presented is a full-time administrator position to do these things. But now we're taking something like public relations that the board has been talking about for a number of years and just kind of attaching on the end of this. Because we have talked many times about making sure that our websites are correct and up to date, and that the dates are there for all the parents and information is correct and those kind of things. So not just what goes in the paper, because we all know there's no more papers. Unless there's bad news, then there's papers. So, in the past, we used to have people that would help out putting articles, sending them to the paper. Mr. Balderman sitting right here, we begged, and I talked to the editor of the Reporter Progress many times to put an article in about the achievements at our high school. And I don't know, Jack, you haven't heard anything, right? To date, it's been a year. So the piece about the PR that the board has been looking for is to, and you know this, that's a piece. So my reluctance is not to not support the athletic director position. I like that. I have a concern about lumping these two together and then what we call that person. Does that make sense?
totally.
I mean, this.
Makes sense, yeah.
It completely makes sense.
So if the skill set, I mean, this is a great qualification list as far as I'm concerned. And then to go into the position. So, John, is it the committee's thought that this person would go to every single?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that was the point, to say that it's
Okay.
not a position
Okay.
that you can't.
No,
You literally
that's-
cannot.
I want to
So
clarify that.
No one
Right.
could. So the whole idea is, and this goes back to the PR piece of it, that this drives, that this position is, no pun intended, driving the bus on all of these things, not necessarily filling every seat. So even from the PR end,
Right.
they're not creating content for our website, they're not creating posts, but they
Correct.
are making sure
Right.
that A, it was created, and B, it's correct when it's out there.
Correct.
And so to kind of create that consistency, and I think that the logistical mind that's necessary for an athletic director's position is the same kind of muscle that would be exercised in filling that role of being the checkpoint along the way before whatever we want to put out there gets out there. And so that way we make sure that what is needed is out there and that it's consistent and correct. And that's the key. I mean, those are the key things to any kind of public engagement, is we want to
Right.
make sure that we have consistency,
Exactly.
timeliness, accuracy. And so having someone to oversee that, I think that's the same kind of mindset to say, okay, let's check these boxes, make sure all these students get to this event, and let's make sure all these items are correct and appropriately posted, because like you said, paper is dead. PR is no longer a written, I mean, it is a written sport, but it's not as much as it was once.
Right.
So-
And, the idea of having one director for the district is to not overlap things. Well, I mean, not that that's going to completely go away, but it puts the focus on one area to talk to everybody. I mean, obviously, this person isn't going to be coaching all these teams either, so it's coordinating with the coaches and all that. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because tonight, we have in front of us a job description that has something in there that I am very excited about. I like the fact of putting them together. So my question to the board is, I like this a lot, but if we're going to do that and spend that money that it's going to take to bring in somebody, I would like to have those as equally important. That's what I'm getting at. What's here is just like, as you were kind of saying, like a tag on about public relations. In my opinion, I think it should be, the job title should be changed and the responsibilities are like twofold and that they're equally important.
If we did something that said, if we created a job description that said co-curricular director, co-curricular and PR director.
Yes.
And instead of separating the two general responsibilities, listed them all together, integrated as one big position.
That, to me, I think.
We're gonna fill those gaps wherever they
Right,
exist
right,
anyway,
right,
so it
right.
really makes no
Right.
sense to separate them.
And the thing that I like about this a lot is that, if anyone's ever been to any event that our school does, people jump in and help with whatever's happening, whether it's any program that we do. So that, I think seeing a concentrated effort toward these things is a huge step for us as a district. To me, it was just when I saw this, when this was posted, it said, oh, that's a really good idea.
Right.
But I would just like to see it have equal importance.
I look at that position too as allowing our other administrators, this is the person who's going to be primarily involved in these items, and our other administrators will be able to gain some of that time back when they're the administrator in an event. This is another body to help us to be the administrator in an event, make sure that event is properly promoted, properly ticketed, and properly attended, and also, properly done overall. So, and then properly reported on after the fact. So it may not be the person who is at every event, but they're definitely going to be involved in.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that.
Oh, no. I'm sorry if I was misunderstood. It's not, definitely not that.
So that's my input, for this. So.
I'd love to meld it all into one.
Well, I guess I'll just add this as, somebody who sits on the finance committee, this looks like a pretty expensive job here in front of us, folks. I hope we're all, are prepared to maybe not be able to do that because it's going to cost us too much. So is there a plan B? Should we think about what we might do if we can't do this, which was, I thought, part of the conversation that we were going to be having more than just a job description. This looks like, this would be great to have into the district, but we're in deficit spending. Okay, how do we? This looks like a great job, but it's certainly not going to be a low-paying one. So just want to put that thought out there into everybody's heads. This looks wonderful, and changing it around is to be more public relations, fine, but that looks like a pretty expensive job to fill there.
Well, we did talk about that too. So I don't know that we can talk out loud right now about is there money in the budget? What kind of position would this? What are we?
Not to point a
thinking?
finger at you, Kevin, but
Right.
we talked
about it at
we talked about it within the
Right,
committee.
we did,
decided.
and obviously, we made some reductions in staffing and also administratively, and some of that was with an eye on that I knew the board wanted to do something with the position, so we kind of took that into consideration when we were looking at it in order to make an allotment for it. Until we start, seeing the applicants, I think the goal would be to bring somebody in, like, at the high end would be 100,000, so you're looking at to bring somebody in less than that, for it. That would be the goal. Of course, as you go through the process, if, you're not finding the quality candidates, then, we'll have to have additional conversations, but we did anticipate, when we were looking at staffing, we did anticipate the need. As an admin team, when we talked about staffing, we did anticipate the need for this position.
Kim, do we have that in the budget? I hate to, I'm not meaning to put you on the spot, but you are.
Well, when we shift some things, I mean, obviously, we've eliminated a couple positions, so this, would take the place. There's always things that I'm gonna continue to look at the budget as I develop it to see where there are ways that we can maybe, create some other efficiencies to make some things happen as well. So, and again, I think we need to kind of see what the candidates are and where this, the range is. Obviously, if we can, anything we can move toward the lower end of the salary schedule is to our benefit.
Well, you're asking for a master's degree, so that's automatically going to put them in the mid-categories, right?
So,
Well, this is
Well, this is an
a
admin,
non-teaching
though.
position,
So
so we're not
it's-
tied
yeah.
to the teacher's salary
Yeah.
schedule.
the cost that we pay right now for the two positions, the two stipend positions, are there any other current, so whatever that, and I don't know if we want to get into that, but so we're currently paying two stipend positions. So that would go away to go towards this,
Well, one of the things the committee
right?
talked about.
I mean, I don't,
No, not
Yeah,
necessarily.
one of the things that the committee talked about was possibly having an assistant at the junior high and an assistant at the high school. So you wouldn't have an AD's stipend, but an assistant stipend. Just because, again, some of the logistics of, one person can't be at everything, at every event, and so that's one of the things that we talked about was having an assistant at each of the buildings. Because currently, right now, for instance, the high school does have an AD and an assistant AD. So keeping that assistant AD position and not eliminating the assistant AD position.
well, I guess, okay, so I guess when we were talking about all this, I had thought that the goal was to make sure that we have that upward mobility from the elementary schools to the junior high to the high school, reaching out to the park districts and
Right.
local groups and all of that kind of stuff. And I know that you've said a couple times that this person doesn't need to be at everything. The previous people were not at everything. So again, I guess I want to reiterate that we're not looking for someone to be at everything, because nobody could be at everything. However, if that was the job to set that up, like, from what I understand, through all the years of just being a parent as well as being on the board, once you set that up, like, baseball season's coming, so you get that set up and you do all that. I question and ask, so we're going to take two stipend positions, keep those, and then yet bring someone in?
Of a total of 4 stipend positions.
Wait, four
We have a
stipend
total,
positions?
we have currently a total of 4 stipend positions. One AD and one assistant.
Okay.
Both at the junior high and the high school. The AD stipend would go away, the assistant would stay as someone to help coordinate within that building. Because we are asking this position to work at all 5 of our buildings.
And it was the thought of the committee, just in us, all of us, but also those close to what this position would take, is that in order for the director to really be able to lead and to really be able to be strategic and be relationship building, they're not going to also be able to do all of the sort of nuts and bolts and knocking it out that you have to do at that assistant level. They would need some support to be able to make sure everything stays on track, and then also be doing the bigger picture. So that was the idea, was it would be the director and then the assistants, but eliminating that level in between.
Can I ask if we can talk about this again, but put some dollars to all of this? Like, what are we currently spending, on these things? And what the vision is?
Sure.
I
And
think
then
that,
move forward?
I do think
Yeah,
that,
we can
that comparison, while I'd love to see it as well, and love to see it in more detail, but I think it's gonna be a very jarring comparison. Because we're talking about 2 stipend positions and 1 administrative position, and a pretty high-level administrative
I know.
position at that. So
I
I
know.
just want to be cognizant of that and prepare the board for that. It's gonna be a very big difference, and we're also looking for a much different set of responsibilities here than we have ever asked of our AD stipend positions. Either one.
And
So,
that's
yeah.
part of the reason why I think we should look at that as to going forward.
Yep.
Because while we will have the, this new position, hopefully both, we still have, fantastic coaches that are, involved in our schools. So it wouldn't be like everything is on this one person or the two. You still have, great coaches that are driven to do all of the things that they do. So we're not getting rid of that. So I just want to make sure that as we look at this and whatever else, that we're making sure that the focus is what we've been talking about as a district for a number of years. So that's I'm the only one talking here, so
Well, I would just add that, Kevin, you had mentioned that there was a couple other districts that had a position similar to this. I think I would like to see what those positions are, what their job descriptions look like, and how much money those people are being paid. I think that would be a fair comparison to look at.
Sure.
And in addition to that, what the size of those schools are. Are they much bigger districts? Because,
Well, if one of them's Lyle, that would be comparable to us, so that's fine.
but just, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm with you, yeah.
Sure. So I will, for our next board meeting, we'll tweak this, what we have in front of us, based upon the conversation, and then we'll pull together the financials, and then also I'll bring in those examples from other districts.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, is that feasible to, do people agree about this position being, like,
Should we continue?
renamed and tweaked
Yeah.
to be the, okay.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, I just wanted to ask if people thought of that too. Okay,
All right. And
Well,
we'll bring it
thank you.
back at the next board meeting.
okay, thank you. All right. Then the next item is the superintendent's report.
A couple items in my report. First of all, we are confident we're past all of our inclement weather. And so we can officially say that we had to use 4 emergency days this school year, and so the last day of school will be June 6, 2019, and that will be a full day of school. And then the other item I have is, first of all, last Wednesday, April 3rd, was Paraprofessional Day, and each of the buildings did something to acknowledge their support staff. But I just want to thank all of our support staff for everything that they do on a regular basis to support teaching and learning in School District 201. And then a special congratulations to Julie Spargargan. She's a teacher assistant at Miller Elementary School, and Julie has been selected as the 2019 IEA Education and Support Professional of the Year. So congratulations to Julie.
Congratulations.
Very good.
And that's my
Congrats.
report.
Okay, are there any board reports? I just have one quick thing. As we sit in this room right here, Thursday night at the village board meeting, Peter Landreth and the team of students that went to Taiwan with the Sister Exchange Program are going to be coming to the village board meeting right here. And certainly, board members are invited to attend if you want to. There's going to be a presentation. I suppose I could say this, right? Where there's going to be a presentation to the village as a, community piece to tie in our school to the sister program. If you see in the hall, there's all kinds of things about Henshaw County, so we're going to give them a plaque about that. So that'll be a nice piece. I know Kevin and I are going to attend. And then at our next board meeting, we're going to have them come and do a presentation too, because while they were on spring break, they were also in school. And I think we should have them bring some of the Mandarin homework that they had to do. So, but anyway, that's just, it's, kudos to the village and to Peter Landreth and then the committee, the sister committee, for making that happen, so. Okay. Are there any other public comments? Okay, future meetings and events, preschool screening, April 11th, 2019, and that is by appointment. Fifth grade step-up night, April 6th at 6:30 at Westmont Junior High School. And then the next school board meeting will be April 23rd at 7 o'clock, Westmont Village Hall. That will also be our reorganization meeting. I would like to say, don't leave your chair yet, but Rick will be leaving the board, so appreciate everything you've done. I would like to congratulate Judy and Gary and Rick and Laura for, and John and Laura for being elected to the board again. And we will have a new board member, Mrs. Strohmeyer, Dana Strohmeyer will be then seated. So at the next meeting, we will have that reorganization meeting. So please join us for that. So you're not done yet, so. Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel issues, negotiations, and student discipline.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mr. Strohmeyer,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton.
Yes.
Okay.
And there will not be a motion or an action item after close.